With Miranda Khan joining me on the anchor desk, J.D. Hayworth back with you on Newsmax Prime. The Supreme Court ruling against Abercrombie and Fitch and in favor of a young Muslim woman over work discrimination.
Yeah, the justices ruled in favor of Samantha Alouf after she was denied a job at Abercrombie and Fitch because she wore a headscarf, JD, to her interview. Now, according to the store, the headscarf violated the store's dress code, but the 8-1 ruling found that the company actually violated civil rights law back in 2008.
It's a topic worth discussing with our guest who joins us now, noted columnist and author of the new book, Who Built That? Awe-Inspiring Stories of American Tinkerpreneurs. Michelle Malkin is on the phone. Michelle, it's great to have you here on Newsmax Prime.
Well, I'm so glad to join you, JD.
Michelle, we get this ruling from the court, and obviously, we always try to balance out First Amendment rights, but in your mind, is this just another example of the government adding regulations for business?
Yes, and I think that we have seen this increasing narrative of capitulating to unreasonable political correctness over and over and over again. And unfortunately, the likes of CARE and many of these grievance mongerers who pretend to be standing up for the religious liberty of Muslims are really have something else in mind. You know, there's something much more insidious and nefarious going on, and we see it whether it's with impeding private businesses' right to decide what its employees should wear, to everything from impeding the government's ability to ensure national security. So, or for an airline to fly, for that matter. I mean, the most precious headlines have to do with this Muslim woman who's complaining that she was, quote unquote, discriminated against because a flight attendant wouldn't give her an unopened can of soda, which, of course, has been deemed, possibly a risk on planes and possibly used as a weapon of some sort. Now she's claiming that she's the victim of some sort of Muslim profiling. The grievance mongering industry has a very good way of forcing this country to apologize for the freedoms that we do have. And in essence, what we're talking about here is the tacit adoption of Sharia law in America.
I want to ask you, Michelle, one of the justices kind of compared this ruling, using as an example the reason they ruled in favor of Samantha, saying that this was basically like an employer deciding whether or not to hire a Jewish person based on just looking at names that appear to be Jewish and saying, I'm not going to hire you. Do you think that's going too far?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I haven't read the entire ruling, but I don't think that the analogy holds. And I think, my concern more is with a lot of business owners of faith who, on the other side of the spectrum, have been prevented from deciding who to, cater to when it comes to things like wedding cakes. That certainly is the case here in Colorado, or with Christian pharmacists in Washington State, or florists for that matter. That their freedom of conscience has been encroached upon more and more. And the point is that it's very selective who gets protected and who doesn't. And this completely undermines the idea of equal protection under the law.
And speaking
and again,
of equal
there
protection,
are certain sects and certain extremists who prefer it that way.
Michelle, let me move to equal attention, because we brought you here in addition to the news of the day to talk about your new book, Who Built That? Tell us the idea behind the book and what you learned in putting it together.
Hey, JD, this is really my personal manifesto against the wealth-shaming progressives of this country. Chief of all, of course, the progressive in chief, Barack Obama. And the phrase that he uttered in 2012, which of course is referenced, it's an allusion to in my book, the title, Who Built That, is really part of just a larger iceberg of this open denigration that the left now undertakes at every step of the way to shame people who are financially successful. And I don't think that the Republican Party And the establishment in D.C. did nearly a good enough job of pushing back against that. So while the first part of the book is definitely what people know me for, the fire-breathing dragon that I am, the rest of the book is really a joyful history, a journey through American history of unsung tinkerpreneurs and innovators out there who deserve a lot more credit than they're getting.
20 seconds, Michelle. Tell us, what is a tinkerpreneur?
Well, I wanted to distinguish between the unsung tinkerers in the garage who made simple things that we take for granted that I highlight in the book. The inventors of the bottle cap and toilet paper and glass bottles and the razor blade, as opposed to the great inventors.
Well, Michelle Malkin, we look forward to reading it. We thank you for your time.